welcome back to my channel. So I hope you all had a really awesome Christmas holiday. The last video I filmed, I actually filmed before Christmas, so I realized afterwards I forgot to say Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. I hope you all had amazing times with your friends and family and were able to spend some quality time on your break. My holiday was awesome. I actually got engaged to my boyfriend, who's now my fiance, so I had a really good break. So for today's video, I thought I would do an interview tips video. I've been getting a lot of requests for this video, just about kind of what they ask, how should you prepare, what should you wear, all that kind of stuff for the pharmacy school interview. So I thought I'd do a quick video on that. If you have any questions or any video requests, make sure to leave them in the comments below. And without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so my first tip right off the bat is research your school. So obviously you know what schools you're applying to. You have to select them in your PharmCast application. Once you get the interview scheduled for that school, research that school. Even if you know the school kind of just in general, you really want to research the details of the school. Look at the curriculum. See if they do research or not, because those are going to be talking points. And they might ask you in the interview, why do you want to go here? And the more you know about the school, about the curriculum, about their outreach, all that stuff, you can include in that answer. So that'll help you be prepared for some of those questions they might ask. You also might want to research what kind of interviews they have. So some schools might have this on their website, some might not, but I'm sure you can kind of search around the internet and find information on those schools. But some schools do traditional interviews, which is what I had at my school. Some schools do MMI interviews. I think it's like multiple mini interviews or something like that. I didn't do them, so I don't really have too much information on that, but traditional, you know what a traditional interview is. You go in, you sit one-on-one with a faculty member, and they ask you questions and you answer them. Traditional interview. The MMI interviews, from what I understand, are but it's kind of like speed dating, like a bunch of mini interviews with different faculty members, and I guess they ask you like scenarios and different situations, and you have to kind of come up with an answer for each scenario and support your decision that you would make. Again, I never did an MMI interview, but I would prepare in a similar way for them. So again, research your school so you know what kind of interview your school is going to have if possible, but I would prepare for both in the case that you can't find which kind of interview style that school does. Be prepared to talk about yourself. So one question that I was always asked was, it wasn't even a question, it was just, okay, so tell me about yourself. And to me, that is the hardest question because I'm like, my name's Alyssa. I don't know what to say. So I actually interviewed twice at the same school. So if you watched my last video where I talked about my path to pharmacy school, I kind of talked about what I did to get in. But I only interviewed at one school, and I interviewed there twice, so 2 different cycles. The first cycle I was put on the alternate list, and then the second cycle I was accepted. So basically, the first time I interviewed, they told me that, and I was like, oh God, like I did not prepare for that question at all, and so I stuttered, I really didn't know what to say. So I really made sure before I went the second time that I prepared for that question. And they don't want to know like, oh, I like to watch YouTube videos. They don't want to know like random stuff about you. Basically, they're looking for your academic credentials, your academic history. So basically what I did is I kind of told a story. So I started at, well, I graduated high school in 2007, and from there I went to college, you know, explained all that stuff, and then I explained how I got my degree in chemistry education, ended up being a chemistry teacher for 4 years, decided that wasn't for me, blah, 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 and then, you know, explained my path to get to the school. And I also told them, like, I did interview last year, and I was put on the alternate list, so this is what I did to try to strengthen my application for the next cycle. I think that really helped too, and I was fortunate in the fact that I had already interviewed at that school, so I knew a good amount about the school, so I had a lot that I could draw on, talk about, and ask questions about. But if you know, obviously if you're applying the first time, you don't have that experience, go on their website, research, because you want to know as much as you can about that school. Also be able to talk about your strengths and weaknesses. So, you know, they say, what are some of your strengths? it's not like you're going to be arrogant telling them what you're good at, but say why you're good at it, why you think that's a strength, even if it's kind of a weakness, make it a strength. And then what are your weaknesses? But when you tell them your weaknesses, make sure you put a positive spin on it. So you could say something like, I struggle not finishing things. I hate not getting things finished. Or be like, I tend to be kind of OCD, where I need to prioritize and get things done in a certain way. So those are positive things, even though they might be weaknesses. They want to see that you can make them into strengths. Another thing I would make sure I do is research current issues in pharmacy, like current events kind of things. Because both interviews I had, they asked me, what are some current issues that interest you, or what are some current issues that you're aware of in pharmacy or in medicine? And so you really want to make sure that you kind of do your research a little bit, look at some news articles, go on some pharmacy, like Pharmacy Times and stuff like that website, so like pharmacy magazines, so you can kind of read about what's in the news right now and what's a big issue. Some things right off the bat, opioid, pain medicine abuse, that's a big thing. I talked about vaccinations in mine, which was really funny because as soon as I said it, my professor was like, "Ugh," and we had like a whole conversation about how silly it is that people don't vaccinate their children. And at the time, I was in a microbiology course, so I was trying to draw on what I was learning in that course to kind of back up what I was saying, and that went really well. So just be ready for, just have a couple in your back pocket, some current events that you might want to talk about. Make sure you arrive early. I'm never very good at this. I tend to be one of the last people to get there. I'm never late, but I'm always kind of like right on time, which is not good. You much rather be early than late. Make sure you know like where the campus is, especially if you're going somewhere that you've never been before, to a school that you've never been before, so you don't really know the roads and you don't really know the parking situation. Get there as early as you can. That way you can park. You can be ready. Your nerves aren't going to be going because you're not like, oh my God, I'm going to be late to my freaking interview. You know, if you get there early, just hang out in your car, walk around campus, get a feel for the other students. Do I look like I would kind of like it here? Does everybody seem kind of like, you know, stressed and on edge? So I would recommend practicing an interview, doing like a mock interview. So if you have friends or family who are willing to kind of sit down with you and do a mock interview, you can just Google questions like med school interview questions, pharmacy school interview questions, and some will come up. And just have your friends practice with you so you're not stumbling over your words, so that you have some answers kind of prepared. Don't prepare a script because they don't want you to sound like a robot. You want to be conversational with them, but you want to have an idea of what you're going to say in your head, so you don't go and you're just kind of like, I don't know. Big thing in medicine, you're working with patients. They want to see that you can communicate with people. So if you're just kind of reading off a script that you wrote yourself, that's not proving that you can communicate well. And they'll know if you're doing that. It's pretty obvious. So definitely practice if you have friends or family who are willing to practice, or just practice by yourself in the mirror. Record yourself. That way you can watch yourself back and be like, ooh, I need to work on my skills. Your attire. So men are pretty easy. You just wear like a suit or just like a nice shirt, like a button-down shirt and a tie and dress pants. For girls, you can wear a suit, but don't feel like you have to wear a suit. I would do like slacks, just like a nice top, and then like a cardigan. Don't feel like you have to wear heels. If you do not normally wear heels and heels hurt you, I wouldn't wear them, because a lot of the schools do tours of the campus while you're in your interview, because the interview is like all day. So they'll talk about the curriculum, then you'll have your interview, then you'll meet students, and you'll tour the campus, and you do a whole lot of things that day. And if you can't handle walking around the campus, going up and down stairs in heels, don't wear heels, because I made that mistake the first time. So my second interview, I didn't wear heels. But like, if you don't wear heels every day, like some girls do, and that's awesome, so you're used to it. But if you're not used to it, I would not do it, because you don't want to be falling all over the place on your interview day, making you look like an idiot. That would not be cute. Prepare some questions about the school. So at the end of your interview, and if you've ever interviewed for a job, I'm sure you've had this come up. Do you have any questions for me? Is what the interviewer will say. You don't want to say no. You want to have some questions prepared. Again, I was lucky like in my second interview because I had already interviewed at the school. I had already known some things about the school, so I was able to ask more specific questions. So because I am in the distance education program and that's what I was applying for and interviewing for, I asked specific questions like, so how do your IPPE rotations work, because we're not in this city for our rotations. And you can ask that in any school. So how do your rotations work? How do you schedule sites? When do you do your IPPE rotations? You can ask about the curriculum, you know, ask about the electives that are offered. You can ask if they do research or not, if you couldn't find that information online. If they do research, ask what type of research, when you can get involved. Even if you're not interested in doing research, act like you are, if your school's a research school. Yeah, so just prepare some questions. They like to see that you have questions, that you're interested. The more specific to the school, the better, because it shows that you're interested in that school. And then it never hurts to send a follow-up email to your interviewer. So if your interviewer gave you their email or you know their names, you can kind of go on the school website and find their email. It never hurts to just shoot them a quick email like the next day, just following up, you know, be like, hi, my name is so-and-so. I interviewed with you at this school yesterday. I just wanted to thank you so much for having me. And I really enjoyed our conversation about blah, blah, blah. Because I actually did this after my interview. I emailed her and I was like, I really enjoyed our conversation about immunizations and how they're lacking in our country. And I just thanked her for her time. And your name is going to stick out in their brain. And they're probably not going to respond to you. Don't expect a response. But they're going to remember you and be like, oh, that's such a sweet girl, you know, or guy, whatever you are. But don't wait too long. Do it within like a day or two, because if you wait too long, then it's kind of rude. So if you're going to do a follow-up email, do it like the next day. I also received a question about the essay in the interview. And I remember when I was applying for my school, it said if you do not have, if you haven't taken the PCAT, then you need to do an on-campus essay. I think just to prove that you're proficient in writing. I don't know. But I never did it. We didn't have to do it. So I would love to share that information with you about what's on the essay and how to prepare for it, but we didn't do it, so I really don't have anything to share on that. Alright guys, I think that's all the tips I have for pharmacy school interviews. If you have specific questions on anything related to the interview, or you want to elaborate on anything I said, or I don't know, any questions, you can leave them below in the comments, or you can message me on any of my social media and I'll try to get back to you ASAP. Sometimes I don't see that I have messages in there, and then I'll look and I'm like, oh, that's been there for a week. But usually I'm pretty good at responding. So yeah, if you haven't followed me on any of my social media, go ahead and do that if you want to. Subscribe if you haven't already. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it. And I will see you in my next video.